Amidst the roaring military parades and passionate chants in North Korea, a young woman stands with a faint, almost innocent smile on her face. But this is no ordinary woman. This is Kim Yo Jong, the younger and only sister of North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong Un. But don't let that innocent face fool you. She is globally recognized by a far more terrifying title: the most dangerous woman in the world. Welcome to another video from Voxen TV. If you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep us bringing you more. And these aren't just empty words from critics. Intelligence experts warn that under absolutely no circumstances should Kim Yo Jong be taken lightly. Today, we are going to peel back the curtain on the hyper-secretive world of North Korea and see exactly how this woman quietly spun a massive web of absolute power. She is a woman who can strike with ruthless brutality when necessary, yet knows exactly how to disarm her enemies with a simple smile. Why is the world so terrified of her? And what exactly makes her the most dangerous woman in modern history? Kim Yo Jong was born in Pyongyang around 1987. The U.S. Treasury officially lists her birth date as September 26, 1989, while South Korean intelligence strongly believes she was born in 1987. Due to the intense secrecy, no one outside the regime knows the exact date for sure. But one thing is absolute fact. She is the youngest daughter of former North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un and the full biological sister of the current supreme leader Kim Jong Un. Their mother, Ko Young-hui, gave birth to 3 children. The oldest is Kim Jong-chul, who has absolutely zero interest in politics and spends his time playing guitar and living quietly. The middle child is Kim Jong Un, the current face and absolute ruler of North Korea. And the youngest is Kim Yo Jong, the beloved little sister of the 2 brothers. She spent her early childhood locked away in a highly exclusive, luxurious private compound in Pyongyang alongside her brothers, completely hidden from the outside world. She wasn't seen in public until 2011, when she was spotted standing near her brother during their father's massive state funeral. At the time, nobody knew who she was. But for intelligence analysts, her placement was a massive signal. She had officially entered the inner circle of absolute power. From that moment on, Kim Yo Jong became her brother's most trusted confidant as he began ruthlessly executing anyone who stood in the way of his absolute rule. She was constantly seen hovering around the supreme leader at every major meeting and ceremony. Sometimes she was seen carrying highly classified documents. Other times she was holding an ashtray so her chain-smoking brother wouldn't have to reach too far. The world completely underestimated her, viewing her merely as a glorified assistant or a helpful sister. But the horrifying reality was vastly different. To understand the roots of this incredibly dark alliance, we have to go back in time. In the 1990s, Kim Jong-il sent his children to Europe to receive a world-class education. In 1996, Kim Yo Jong was sent to a public school in Bern, Switzerland, where she lived under a fake name. A short time later, Kim Jong Un joined her. The 2 siblings attended the same school, both registered under fake identity. Kim Jong Un was registered as Pak Un, while Kim Yo Jong went by Pak Mi-hang. In Switzerland, they blended in as normal Korean children. But the reality behind closed doors was entirely different. They lived in an ordinary apartment in the city, but it was heavily monitored around the clock by North Korean intelligence officials. They lived with relatives and were constantly surrounded by a team of highly trained, undercover bodyguards. Kim Jong-un's former classmates later mentioned that their apartment was plastered with photos of American basketball players, reflecting his famous obsession. But even back then, Kim Yo Jong was kept under extreme, suffocating protection. For years, they played the role of normal children, while the entire machinery of a nuclear state operated in the shadows just to keep them safe. In 2000, Kim Yo Jong quietly returned to North Korea. By 2007, she graduated from Kim Il-sung University in Pyongyang with a degree in computer science, and that exact same year, she secured a junior position within the ruling Workers' Party. After her public debut at her father's funeral in 2011, her rise to power was meteoric. In 2012, at just 23 years old, she was appointed as the tour manager for the National Defense Commission. This was not a minor role. She was given absolute control over her brother's travel logistics. She decided exactly where Kim Jong Un went, what routes he took, what time he traveled, and who went with him. She was even the mastermind behind his complex security protocols. In 2014, North Korean state media officially disclosed her name for the very first time when she was appointed vice director of the Workers' Party Propaganda and Agitation Department. While it sounds like a media wing, its true, terrifying purpose is to brainwash the North Korean population and craft the supreme leader's godlike image. Within a single year, she quietly seized absolute control of the entire department. Even if someone else's name was on the paperwork, everybody knew Kim Yo Jong was pulling the strings. She had officially become the propaganda chief. In a deeply patriarchal society like North Korea, a young woman securing such massive power was absolutely unheard of. With a massive propaganda machine entirely in her grip, Kim Yo Jong aggressively worked to mirror her brother's image after their grandfather, the revered founder Kim Il-sung. By this point, she was considered just as responsible for the regime's brutal atrocities as Kim Jong Un himself. In fact, many within North Korea began to quietly fear that she was actually more powerful than the supreme leader. Because of her immense, unchecked power, the U.S. Treasury officially slapped sanctions on her in 2017. In February 2018, she exploded onto the world stage when she traveled to South Korea for the Winter Olympics. South Korea was using the Olympics as a diplomatic tool to ease tensions and had formally invited the North. It was an incredibly historic moment. Since the Korean War ended in 1953, no member of the North Korean ruling family had ever set foot on South Korean soil. Kim Jong Un sent his sister in his place. When her special jet touched down in Pyeongchang, the global media went absolutely crazy. During this highly publicized visit, Kim Yo Jong put on a masterclass in deception. She flashed her signature innocent smile and painted a remarkably soft, diplomatic image of North Korea. She dined with South Korean leaders and personally delivered a highly classified letter from her brother to the South Korean president. The world briefly believed that decades of bitter hostility might finally be ending. However, intelligence experts firmly believe this was nothing more than a brilliant, highly calculated propaganda trap. Following the Olympics, throughout 2018 and 2019, she was glued to her brother's side during every major international summit. Whether it was the historic meeting with South Korean President Moon Jae-in or the high-stakes, heavily televised summit with U.S. President Donald Trump, Kim Yo Jong was always lurking in the background. Her sole job was to ensure her brother looked powerful and in absolute control in every single photograph and news broadcast. But by late 2019, the nuclear talks with the U.S. completely collapsed. The blame for this massive diplomatic failure seemingly fell entirely on Kim Yo Jong, and she was quietly stripped of her position in the powerful Politburo. The world assumed the princess's reign was finally over, but it was merely the calm before a terrifying storm. In April 2020, a bizarre and chaotic situation unfolded. Kim Jong Un completely vanished from the public eye. Rumors exploded across global media and intelligence agencies that the dictator was either dead or in a coma. Amidst this terrifying silence, a chilling voice suddenly roared out of North Korea, sending shockwaves around the world. For the very first time, a fiery, deeply aggressive public statement was issued entirely under the name of Kim Yo Jong. In it, she viciously attacked South Korea, comparing them to a frightened, trembling dog that only knows how to bark. This wasn't just an insult. It was a massive, calculated warning to the world. She was making it crystal clear, if her brother was gone, she was absolutely ready to seize the throne. A few weeks later, not only did Kim Jong Un reappear, proving the rumors false, but Kim Yo Jong was immediately reinstated to the Politburo with even more power than before. That single event proved to the world that she wasn't just an advisor, she was the true Iron Lady of the regime. In North Korea, the path to absolute power is paved with the bodies of family members, and Kim Yo Jong is a master at this bloody game. In 2013, when Kim Jong Un shockingly ordered the brutal execution of his own uncle Jang Song-taek, declaring him a traitor, intelligence sources strongly believe Kim Yo Jong was the true mastermind behind the horrific decision. And the uncle's supposed crime, he allegedly didn't clap enthusiastically enough for the supreme leader at a public event. Similarly, in 2017, Kim Jong-un's estranged half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, was brutally assassinated with a deadly nerve agent in a Malaysian airport. The entire world firmly points the finger directly at the Kim regime. Recent intelligence reports even suggest that high-ranking North Korean government officials have been executed simply because they were a second too slow to show proper respect in the presence of Kim Yo Jong. In June 2020, she proved exactly how ruthless she could be. On her direct orders, the North Korean military completely obliterated the massive inter-Korean liaison office building with explosives. She did it simply to punish South Korea. That building was the absolute last remaining symbol of hope for peace between the two nations, and she turned it to dust in seconds. Kim Yo Jong doesn't just make terrifying decisions. Her words are literally weaponized. Her language toward North Korean defectors who have managed to escape the regime is exceptionally vile. She publicly refers to them as human scum and dirty insects, openly threatening that they will pay a horrifying, bloody price for their betrayal. But her wrath isn't limited to defectors. In 2023, she openly insulted U.S. President Joe Biden, calling the leader of the free world an old man with no future. She didn't stop there. She also labeled the South Korean president a starving dog belonging to America. Her aggressive, deeply insulting rhetoric proves that she is every bit as fierce and unhinged as any male dictator in history. And when she is truly enraged, her threats are often far more terrifying than anything her brother has ever said. Today, Kim Yo Jong is universally recognized as the de facto #2 leader of North Korea. She holds a permanent seat on the nation's highest decision-making commission and essentially co-rules the country with her brother. While her official title is still propaganda chief, her dark influence completely infects every single major policy and military decision. Recently, she has issued over 40 highly aggressive official statements on behalf of Kim Jong Un, something that in the past only the supreme leader was allowed to do. This proves she is now the undisputed mouthpiece of the entire nuclear regime. Many intelligence experts now classify her as North Korea's female co-dictator. The world has never seen a female leader so casually threaten other nations with total nuclear annihilation. Given her massive accumulation of power, experts firmly believe that if anything were to happen to Kim Jong Un today, absolute power would immediately transfer to Kim Yo Jong. Bae Yong-ho, a high-ranking North Korean diplomat who successfully defected, explicitly stated that if Kim Jong Un dies suddenly, the regime's strict rules dictate that the new leadership will immediately fall into Yo Jong's lap. This is because, according to all available intelligence, Kim Jong-un does not currently have a son old enough to rule, and even if he did, it would take years for him to mature. This makes it absolutely clear that if the throne empties, she is next in line. But would Kim Yo Jong actually be the most powerful and dangerous female leader in human history? Or has the world seen this kind of terror before? History is certainly full of ruthless female rulers. For example, in the 7th century, Chinese Empress Wu Zetian violently seized power after her husband's death and didn't hesitate to slaughter her own family members to maintain absolute control. In Europe, Queen Mary Tudor famously burned hundreds of people at the stake, earning the horrific nickname Bloody Mary. But those ancient queens didn't have their fingers hovering over a massive nuclear button, nor did they command a highly advanced, hyper-surveilled society where a single dissenting whisper means instant death. Today, Kim Yo Jong has absolute control over both. That is exactly why intelligence agencies worldwide agree that she has undeniably become the most dangerous woman on the planet. After everything she has orchestrated, if anyone still assumes she is weak simply because she is a woman, they are making a massive, potentially fatal mistake. There was a time when the world dismissed her as a silent, innocent supporter. But today, she is the most powerful, terrifying, and mysterious woman in North Korea. The question is no longer whether Kim Yo Jong is dangerous. The real, terrifying question is, if Kim Jong Un suddenly vanishes tomorrow, is the world truly prepared to face its very first female dictator? A woman who can incinerate buildings with a single nod, execute top generals without blinking, and whose sheer rage possesses the power to drag the world's superpowers to the brink of nuclear war. Will Kim Yo Jong prove to be even more bloodthirsty and ruthless than her brother? Or is this just the terrifying prologue to a much darker story? Hopefully you found this deep dive into the secretive world of North Korea fascinating. Thank you so much for your incredible support and comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching Voxen TV. If this story was worth your time, drop a like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow. See you in the next one.